Hello, sixth graders. We are off to our brand new unit, which is integers. So it is fitting that our first lesson is titled integers. So we are on lesson 7-1. We are still setting up our notes like Cornell notes, numbering your page and putting it into your table of contents. A lot of today, it's not really math problems per se. You're not having to solve anything. We're just more talking about vocabulary and things like that. And it will actually be 2 pages, but it'll be quick. There's not a lot of writing on each page, so it'll be quick. So first things first, our learning target is we are going to identify integers, and then I'm going to give you some examples of integers. And then on our second page, we're going to talk about what absolute value means. So first off, integers are positive and negative whole numbers. So they can be positive or negative, but they're whole, so they don't have any decimal or anything to them. Now we'll look at some examples. If we're talking about money here, make it green, money. For instance, a positive and negative, the first one, it says if I put $314 into my account, like a deposit, we call that, that would be plus 314. But if I overdrew $34, that means that I subtract 34. I am minus 34. So that's kind of one looking at the positive side of the number line and one looking at the negative. Now the other one down here is with temperature. You'll see my cute little sun. So if it is 83 degrees, that's positive 83 degrees. Now on the other side of that, I know most of you don't feel these degrees down here in Texas, but where I'm from in Nebraska, it gets below negative. That means if it's 13 below, it is negative 13 degrees. Crazy to imagine, but it happens in other places besides Texas. So that's a positive and a negative and a positive and a negative, talking about money and temperature. So we have some signs that we like to use. Positive, obviously, we have a plus sign. Negative is a minus sign. And then the last thing down here at the bottom is we're going to talk about opposites. So you'll see on here, I drew kind of a little number line. And I numbered, first off, we always started our 0, our center. And then I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going positive, that's our positive side. And then negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going to the negative side. Now opposites connect the positive and negative version of the same number. So for instance, if they asked you for the opposite of positive 5, all you're going to do is say that it's negative 5. Now it sounds like so simple and easy, but you'd be surprised how many kids get confused when somebody says, what is the opposite of this number? If it's negative, then you're going to put the positive version. If it's positive, you're going to put the negative version. So I'm just kind of showing you how I connect those on my number line. Our negatives over here and our positives over here. Make sure you have all of this down first. Like I said, there's not a lot of writing on each page, but we have one more page to go ahead and set up our Cornell notes. So pause this if you're not ready to move on, and I'm going to show you the second page. Oops, maybe. There we go. Okay, my second page here is about absolute value. So first, make sure that your Cornell notes and all that fun stuff are set up. Now, absolute value is a really tough concept because it's new for a lot of kids in 6th grade. They've never heard this term before. Absolute value. So here is our definition first. Absolute value is the distance a number is from 0, and we call it the jumps to 0. So a lot of times you will use the number line on your desk or a number line in the classroom, and you can count that number's hops to 0. So if I had a number line here, our example is -2, and on my number line I have 0, -1, -2. What they're saying is if I want to find the absolute value of this -2, I have to show my hops it takes me to get to 0. It's not -2 hops, it's 2 hops. So our answer is always positive, whether I'm coming from the negative side and I'm going this way, or if I'm coming from the positive side and going to 0. Either way I'm coming from, I count my hops to 0. So our answer is always positive. It never has a negative in front of it. Now the sign, when they say they want you to find the absolute value, they'll put the number in brackets like this. That's why for our example, they say example and then there's a bar, -2 bar. That means example, find the absolute value of -2. So many times the question won't say the word absolute value. They just put these weird little bars, like a little jail cell for that number. They just put it in that bracket. And again, another little reminder down here is that our distance is always positive. I can't have a negative absolute value. So if there's answers on a quiz or a test and the answer choices are negative, you can right off the bat eliminate those negative choices because we know absolute value is always positive. Now we'll look at another example down here. 2 examples. The first one is saying, what is the absolute value of +4? So we count our hops, and you'll see over here they counted 1, 2, 3, 4. It was 4 hops to 0, so our answer is +4, always positive. Same thing for -3. Absolute value of -3, we start at -3 and we take 3 hops, so our answer is still positive, and it's +3. Awesome, you guys. I told you it was going to be quick. Not a lot of writing, but it took up 2 pages, and that is our start to integers. So you are ready to roll. Have a wonderful rest of your night.